Delores fires the opening salvos in her Revolutionary War in a mind-bending episode that goes full meta, as we have a genre show about a genre fantasy exploring its story through 5 genre interpretations. Look, these days the only way I know it's Sunday is because we've got Westworld, Season 3, Episode 5. Genre. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Westworld. So yes, here is your standard spoiler warning and a quick reminder about our quick jump index system. Right in the description below, we'll have this entire review titleized, timestamped, broken down into easily digestible chunks that you can watch in any order you'd like. Watch the end first, watch the beginning last. Choose your own adventure. Alright, so let's get into things directly. First off, I guess, how are all of you? Surviving our coronavirus containment well? Don't know about you, it's about week 4, 5, a little month now of being all cooped up. Doing the full quarantine beard, which, let's be honest, I've never been able to grow a beard. I'm getting tired. It's getting scratchy. I think I'm done with that exploration for now. So hopefully things will not last much longer. But while we do it, at least we got some good shows to watch, right? I mean, at the very least, we got some Westworld and tonight's episode, a wonderful mind-bending exploration. Like I was saying at the top here, it's totally fun. You got a sci-fi show talking about a Western fantasy, and we get to sort of now filter these through these different 5 genres of our genre party drug that Kale is on, and which is just a really nice background for this kind of progressive storyline and how each genre itself sort of plays into different moods, whether it be intrigue with the black and white sort of noir aspect, or the action of the Flight of the Valkyries, or the sort of romantic impression of the romance genre. You know what I mean? Each one sort of is telling its progressive story, which is sort of a wonderful way of sort of introducing Hale into this continual heightened realm. And of course, for us, fully entertaining, and Aaron Paul just making it all work. And of course, really in that way, also framed not only through Kale's experience through the genre drug and sort of interpreting all the actions through those, but also this sort of duality going on between Delores and Serac. The episode opens up with, we get this sort of background on Serac, this narration, where he's talking to the AI, kind of telling this background story. Whereas throughout the rest of the, while that's happening through the episode, Delores herself is also talking to the AI, but it's a different type of conversation. And I think that's sort of an interesting dynamic too, where Serac, whose story is really all about control and forging a reality, is kind of telling a story. He's narrating. He's talking to the AI, Rehoboam. Whereas Delores is speaking with the AI. They are interacting. I mean, yes, there's commands, but there is back and forth. There is interaction. So it's a different way of sort of framing how these two are approaching this particular war. And I think they just it's just a really fun episode. Again, hits with the action moments, hits with the sort of comic reflecting moments, and then grounds down at the end, well, back into reality. And well, like Giggle said, man, you got to watch out for that last act. It's harsh. All right, well, let's sort of kick things off, as the episode does, with Serac and his journey. And, I mean, in some ways, this is really just sort of a further exploration of topics we sort of touched on before. We get our background, kind of an interesting thing after the destruction, after the nuking of Paris. there was only him and his brother. And he puts it kind of in an interesting way, as no one else knew that we were alive. They were kind of in that way sort of blank slate. So in a way, as we had found on earlier, as there's not much sort of data on Serac, that's sort of how his beginnings were. Once the nuclear explosion happened, I guess in some ways whatever old Serac was gone. Because like his brother had said, this was a chance for new beginnings. And he sort of, with his brothers, started formulating their plan for saving the world. And again, while he goes to very extreme means, as any good antagonist character has a good motivation, has a strong background of why they're doing things. And for him, seeing the destruction of Paris and everything else, yeah, that motivates you to want to control the world. Stop wars, all of these things. And so we get the story of the formation of the AI, the program, how his brother really sort of made the whole thing, how they met Liam's father, and he sort of financed everything. And so, I mean, we have a good story, I think, in that of just seeing that progression and to the extremes that he's willing to go. Not only just the regular greed aspect, when they show the possibilities of this to Dempsey, who's just, what's the easiest thing to show him? Mathematics. Basically, the Dow. Invest some money, we'll make more. $5 million, we turned it to $100 million in a week by letting the computer do things. So yeah, motivation of greed will allow things to go, and it allowed Dempsey to be distracted while Serac and his brother finished doing and working their program, which ultimately turns into sort of nightmarish possibilities that we were hinted at with the information broker last week, and we get a much firmer sort of example through this, I think, with this episode, especially in that opening scene, where I love the symbolism that they have visually with this, as we have Serac meeting with our, let's say, third world dictator, who is being constantly annoyed by this fly. And in many ways, that is Serac there. The fly that's constantly buzzing and constantly there, and you can't get rid of it, and is completely out of your control. And yet, oddly, this fly is one that could actually control his future. And he's able to show him, in that way, all of those examples, the realms of possibilities. And I think that's where we really get the nightmarish, dark aspect of Rehoboam, of the AI, and certainly why Delores would want to end up stopping it, is because this is not only, it not only holds all the information, it's predictive. It can say, hey, we twist one things and we do that. And what's Serac talking about right here? Hey, you have some people up in the north that are going to cause some problems, and it's happened because you're doing this one thing here. Stop doing that, they'll go away, and you're not going to have any problem. Or you could not listen to me. I go do a thing, your currency drops, it accelerates that timetable, and that guy with the mustache right here, he's going to be in charge. I mean, it's just, it's a cruel, godly presentation of Serac, and it's a great opening bit because it does frame, as the whole story is told for him, where it ends up being, and how you could see at the end that, yeah, he would be a guy that sees those I can't control, these outliers. We either got to kill them or put them in little boxes. You put them in little boxes, I guess, if you care about them, like his brother, who I'm assuming is outside one of those very fancy boxes right now. Or you get rid of them. Easiest way to do that? War. Just throw them into the meat grinder, and they come back, and they're either dead or they come back useless. And who else do we know that got thrown through that meat grinder? Well, that's Cale. So we have an idea of one of the reasons Cale is such a pivotal moment is because he does seem to be one of those outliers. And that is sort of implied there's so much more to Cale's story through that. He was put in the meat grinder to be tossed away or forgotten. So what are the possibilities can he do? And interestingly enough, I think there's a great end when we see how Serac just disposes of Dempsey So cruel. What's that smoke you go up? That's my plane right there. Yeah, I'm sorry, you didn't make it. But just before that, Serac talks about a moment of... I don't want to forget this here. That's it. A bubble of agency. And we might get a hint sort of how things end. Because what is that Dempsey has said is, yeah, well, I saw the predictions, and it said that I would walk away from here. And of course, Serac responds to that as, yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. Because there are some little points where little things sort of line up, and you get sort of a white moment where things can change, a moment of agency. A bubble of agency. Where true choice could happen. And I think that might be a hint of sort of where things end up with this season. Because this is all about, we've dealt with choice in a lot of things. And a lot of what Delores is hitting about is freedom of not being controlled, to be able to make those choices. And that ability to make those choices is the actual freedom. And because this sort of ends on that moment of that bubble of agency, and we know that Cale is an outlier, that quite possibly, as we could expect, everything will turn on a single choice that Cale ultimately makes. Alright, so I think that leads us very easily into our genre story in 5 genre acts. Cale's sort of personal journey through this episode. And we get a nice, quick little setup. Obviously, they are fleeing from kidnapping Liam here. They're underground to avoid cameras. They've got to get away. And Delores starts to enact her plan to get Liam's information in order to access the AI and get all the juicy inside info. But we also get our other segments. One, of course, Liam's easy access to the AI and his ability to get to its information, specifically dealing with Cale. And Cale seeing that Liam has seen something, and we get the sort of idea. Was it that Cale gets off about killing you killed my friend. People like you. And we start to get the hint of, you think I killed your friend? Right here in the beginning, that there is something much more to the story, as we already have sort of suspected. And this sort of starts the plan, as of course we have Liam in his foolish attempt to escape, drugging Cale with our genre drug. Which, again, it's just really plays so well in the development of the story of which genre picks. And I don't know how the drug actually works, if it's a pre-programmed or if it deals off of the sort of input of your experience. But I love the kicking things off in a black and white film noir kind of aspect. One, it's an instant shift into the drug. We know that something has happened visually. We get the black and white, but we also get the music too. And because this is a new fancy drug, I could totally believe that whatever experience is programmed within this is full sensory in surround sound. But again, it's a perfect initial choice because Intrigue is sort of how it all starts. People start closing in. Where are we going to go? What's going to happen? How long are they going to catch up? And we see, Aaron Paul just such an amazing job playing all of this. And I'm sure years of Breaking Bad has played a positive experience in this. But man, does he own every moment and really visually, viscerally takes you through this experience as he is trying to fight the effects of the drug and respond within it. They're trying to hunt us down, corner us so they can kill us. Again, that sort of black and white film noir Intrigue was a perfect setup. And then we get our Act 2 when things shift into gear. Our action setup. We go from the Intrigue setup to the action part of our movie. And Flight of the Valkyries, what a perfect choice to have. And through all of this, we have Delores trying to be the convincing to get all of the biometric info. basically the thumbprint so she can go ahead and have access to the AI. So as everything sort of spilled up, I love that moment where they have everyone sort of closing in. And for a moment, you're not sure, are these actually Serac's guys, or are these hitmen that perhaps Delores has hired to trick Liam into thinking that they're going to be attacked? I mean, that's how deep sort of many of these chess moves are made. I have to say, for a moment, I thought that was going. But I love the fact that Liam holds out. He's not easily convinced until he really feels that his life is in danger. They had to push to that moment. Now, of course, ends up being that this is Serac's people that are coming after them, and that's how we wonderfully transition into our action set piece. But I love how, from Liam's character standpoint, that he doesn't just buckle. He waits until he's being shot at. It's not just the fear of danger, it's actual danger happening that gets him to go. Which, of course, allows Delores to take over everything and, boom, turn into gear, control the car, and they're off. And like I said, straight into Flight of the Valkyries. Really my favorite bit in this whole sequence. So, boom, yeah, Delores takes over, music kicks up, we are into our action set piece with, I think, really defined by the beautiful initial exchange between Delores and Cale. That's not standard issue. No, it isn't. Our beautiful, awesome grenade launcher guided missile drop, just really, and even from that moment, like I say, Aaron Paul's ability to really play within the whole, I am in the midst of a drug, but I'm trying to get things done, and I have to take the audience through this whole experience. And really, this does have kind of my favorite little moment, when Delores hands him this gun. And he's already got this one gun that they were set up and ready when the ambush was about to happen. And he has this moment where he's got his gun, and he's like, yeah, this is great, but man, this is so much better. Let me look at this. And I mean, he is in that moment where again, you can feel that he's trying to really be functional, but everything is distracting. And again, it was just the music, the fire, everything. Delores controlling the car, Cale getting whipped around up on top there, which maybe not a good idea when someone's got a grenade launcher. But was Delores say, this is point and shoot. And again, I always like it when you have smart bad guys, when they just do something more interesting. It's not just shoot at the truck behind us, it blows up, move on. No, these are professionals. You're on a crazy drug. You shoot at them, they might get out of the way. Sure, probably not, but I like the sort of choice to do something, and it gives an opportunity to really have that amazing response. This is the future. It misses, goes up, then uses momentum and spinning controls in order to guided missile right to the back, and of course right in tune with the music. Dun, 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 boom! I mean, it was, again, just a beautiful setup. It was just really, like I said, the most fun of all of the genre sequences. I mean, it's the action, but just everything, the character interplay, plus the effects and the choices. Yeah, it was a blast. Now, genre number 3 is, of course, the love story. And when you've got Delores right there, looking awesome and just mowing down bad guys in front of you in slow motion, how could you not fall in love? And, of course, Delores, definitely very familiar with this response in men around her. So it was just, I'm glad this was one that was not spent much time on, that they didn't do anything ridiculous. This is, again, you could see Cale sort of falling into this aspect of the drug and then trying to really pull himself out. And I think we did get a few moments of recognition from Delores of like, Cale's definitely going through something here. But I love that, again, they didn't dwell on anything, and that's glad. It would have really been distracting. But of course, here's when we get Ash and Giggle showing up. But I gotta say, I love that. I love these characters, and I love them returning, and especially pushing on Cale. Hey, doing some personals now, all right? So you're branching out. And again, they're just really fun characters to comment. So it was kind of an interesting, once we get kind of that moment of the love, we've got a beautiful woman shooting and killing people in slow motion. I love how he sort of jerked out, yeah, we got to shoot and kill and do all this. Again, great bit. Then we move on to kind of our fourth genre here. And again, it's sort of a quick transition, which was the clubbing, the partying. Hey, man, you little Iggy Pop going on in the background, heading down into the subway, and just sort of our interaction. Again, it's nice. Subway, the lights are pumping, a little party atmosphere. And this is where we get into kind of the beginnings of a really kind of deeper discussion on freedom, reality, the insight in with Liam going off about people shouldn't know everything about their lives. Some people shouldn't know the truth. And again, we're getting a lot more of implied looks and references towards Cale, that there's something definitely much bigger going on right here. And we get a lot of Liam's arrogance. And I mean, if there's one thing that they hit on throughout this episode, it's Liam's arrogance. And I really think in the end, his death is quite deserved at that point. That he would be in a position to be able to step back and judge where everybody is going and what people should know and not know. But it does become an interesting kind of philosophical quandary and question here. What is freedom? How much should people know? How much should they know of what other people know about them? You know, where are the lines from a society? And I think it was just sort of a good exchange here. You know, we've got, of course, Liam being as sort of godly as he's reading everything on his glasses. You know, yeah, you should know about this, and yeah, you think you're doing great things here, but these are just excuses. And what, you know, to Ash, you know, your nephew's just going to end up being worse than you ever were. Really just, again, that sort of arrogant standpoint, but also really demonstrating the power that he holds. And of course, pushing Delores to definitely say, well, maybe that's not power that you should have. That should be in your hands alone. And I think that's her aspect and wonders there of freedom. If it's not that these things aren't known. It's that things are withheld from people and then choices are made because of them. And that's, again, the point that she hits on right here. It's not just what they know. It's how they control you. It's what they determine your future and then make that so. And that reality hits hard. Now, the show's, like I said, did a very good job of showing all those transitions from, you know, of the drug and Cale's kind of response to it. I mean, first the Intrigue, it's just sort of a black and white music. What's going on? What's happening? The power of the action set piece. The little bit of the romance. We get the sort of party drug scene. We get the flashes, the slow motion. They visually do a great job of giving us the transitions here. Our transition to the fifth one. Again, Giggles warned Aaron, beware of that fifth hit. And they did an amazing job, both cinematically and audibly. The music changes, the sound quality. When he shifts into reality, what we find out later, it's a hard, visceral shift. The sound drops down, you know, the camera work tightens and you feel this kind of weight drop. It's a strong moment, and of course, we have Cale have this sort of flash with the gentleman's in military gear sat in the front of the subway car there, and of course he's having these flashbacks, these feelings of what has happened to my friend that we brought up at the very beginning. And just the story, man, strong storytelling is always so powerful. And Aaron Paul here again grounds us down in that reality, and like sort of a reality show, becomes the narrator of his tale, telling the story of these rats. There were so many rats when we were stationed. We had to set up a trap, and if you put this bucket there and they would drown, but if you put too much water, then they would swim with this hope that they could escape. And that was the worst part. False hope. And that's what just grinds him finally down onto Liam here. What gets him so angry. I would rather live in a world of chaos than one controlled by you. And it's that reality that spurs... I mean, Delores is going to do the move anyway. But if you want to have a nice transition about that, okay, this is the green light. Go ahead and let it loose. And that's what Delores does. That's, between both of those, Aaron Paul and the release, of course, it's our Scene of the Week for this week. Because, come on, man, reality is hard. This was a perfect grind down, like I said, between the visceral change into the genre, Aaron Paul dripping into this personal, devastating story of the hurt, the pain, the dangers of false hope, and the desire for control, the release of everyone's data. I mean, again, not just the subway car, everywhere. And how you see that effect from everyone all around. The change the world, the intensity of that particular move was just mind-boggling. And people looking down and being able to see their summation of what your life is going to be, how you've been sussed out, how it's all been controlled. Let's take a look at some of our people, shall we? We had, let's see, Ash's little nephew there, right? Let's see, he's going to be gotten a job of transportation, unfit for social promotion or reproduction, violent death, 5 to 8 years in LA County. Yeah, marriage not approved, not recommended, children not approved. How did Liam tease Ash there? You think you're doing this all for him. You're going to put him to the best schools, all of these things. His future has already been determined. Nothing that she does is going to change any of that. Terrence Danvers, you see the weird guy standing there. Let's see, addictive personality, narcissistic tendencies. His perception, he's seen as unreliable and unstable. His friends considered him an a-hole. Unbearable, crazy, colleagues, unprofessional, flaky, projection, accidental drug overdose, 3 to 5 years in a hotel room. Casey Miller, lady there, below average social contribution. Early onset Alzheimer's in 12 years. So let's see. No reproduction allowed. She's got the genetic thing, so we don't want that thrown into the gene pool here. And we'll give her administration tasks, but restrict her to low management. And she totally looks like that lower management person who's been struggling to kind of get that promotion and has been stuck wondering why. Why will no one date her? Why can't she have this relationship? She looks the part, and now we see exactly why. And the kid, honestly, this is the one that hurt. This is the one that really hurt. Those are all disturbing. But this is the one that hurt. The little kid, major depressive disorder, projection, suicide, wrist injury, 5 to 8 years, home bathroom. So mom reaches out for the wrist. Again, it's just the visceral feel that they did, showing the information, all of those individual actors really pulling those responses, grounding the reality, not overdoing it, just seeing that. And then as they leave, as they walk out of the subway, again, not just in the car, everyone so quiet, the shock, the devastation. What is it that Connell says? The right bit of information at the right time is more devastating than any weapon. She is unleashed. Stuns everyone to give them time to get away, and the resultant chaos covers any tracks because, yeah. Liam does say it, people falling into their own, people falling immediately into their base cells as soon as they see it. But they just saw how their lives have been completely controlled. Who they are, who everyone sees about them. And the worst about it, each of those are opportunities for change, especially Ash's kid, or Ash's younger brother right there. And the younger kid as well. what is it, the little girl that said she's suicide in 5 to 8 years? Why? Problems detected in online behavior. Well, these are the opportunities for change. This is where that knowledge could be used for some benefit. But the system doesn't do it, and whether that is a result of Serac's programming, it's just the straight odds. Is it 51% and 49%? Is it 30 and 70? Is it 90-10? What's the chance of going each way? But instead of taking those as opportunities to see behavior and what could happen without intervention, then you are condemning people and in fact guaranteeing the worst possible outcome. And I think that's the real damage to this system, why fighting for that freedom would be so important. It's not just that it knows what you're going to do. It's not bad enough that it makes that reality happen. It's that it sees potentials in the future where problems could be, and it does nothing to try and mitigate those and improve that situation. And I think that's the darkest thing about it. Yeah! And of course, as reality comes sort of crashing down, we have the gunmen show up at the exit from the subway. And again, another nice transition here. How we have Cale just freaking out in this moment of everything happening and the fights and the stuns and people kicking in and the whole chaos of everyone knowing what all this could be. And the two people stepping out of the cab with the guns, and it's kind of all slow motion. And he, again, plays it perfectly like, well, this is a weird thing to see. Oh my God, there's people with guns. It was perfect. And then we have Delores stepping in, saving Cale, and getting shot herself, revealing that there's obviously, definitely, much more to her than he thought. Maybe he's thinking back down to that time in the ambulance where they had problems getting proper readings off of her. Maybe now he's wondering a little bit why. So we get the idea that they're going to settle that future. And then, yeah, again, we're pushing things off. We sort Liam out. I love the fact, okay, we've got access to everything. We don't need him before. He just had to stay alive long enough. Guess he can find out when he's dead. I'm glad that Ash shot him. Even at the end there, Liam was just being a total prick. Yeah, I don't have anything else. You know, we had a nice shot there of Cale trying, I think he was trying to save him. I was wondering, it's like, are you pushing the life out of him? But I think maybe he's trying to give compression on, trying to stop. And we get, again, that final admittance. You did it. You did it. Of course, calling back to the whole friend thing. So I'm sure by next episode, we'll get a little bit more of the story. I'm hoping they're not going to save that until the end. But obviously here we are seeing there's much more to Cale, that whatever repressed memories that he has been repressed, that he was some murderer, that maybe he was sent to either kill or program. There's so much more. Maybe that's going to deal with, again, a lot of his control issues, the questions that we have here about, are you controlled? Do you have freedom? Does he even know who he is? So a nice way to sort of leave that sort of drug-addled experience with a lot more questions than answers, but also knowing kind of what are at least the right questions to ask. And lastly, real quick, of course, we do have Bernard and Connell doing their little interactions, being the other side. Was it Liam asked, you can't be in two places at once. Well, for Delores, in a way, you actually can be. Connell's obviously a farewell episode here for it. Sad to see him gone. Does sort of open things up, talking to Bernard that not all of us are going to make it. But while there are points where he is threatening to Bernard, you're going to have to make a choice of which side that you're on and everything, ends up being, of course, that Bernard is much more important. What is it that Connell says is we have to protect Bernard. He's the one of us that we can't replace, that we can't copy, that Bernard is singularly important. Even Bernard says that as he's leaving with Tubbs, is that, Delores has a plan and I think I am part of it. But it doesn't feel in a negative sense. Again, they're not forcing Bernard to do anything. I mean, yeah, okay, Connell did sort of force him to wander around because he had the little control key. But at least Bernard got that back at the end. but it's really more just showing Bernard what is happening, cluing him into Serac's sort of backstory, and then ultimately kind of giving him a mission. This is what you need to go off and do. You know, here's where they're storing all of these people. Again, I think they're going to be going after Serac's brother. They've made him important. They've showed that he's obviously his side. And Delores does need to get in contact with, in order to access the deep architecture, the real actual architect, which is, of course, Serac's brother. So we all know where we're going to end up, everyone meeting together in the end. But it was just sort of a good experience where we're seeing Bernard in a way sort of threatened, but we're getting all those clues that, no, he's actually so much more important to be played with. So I love the fact that Bernard is being himself and yet also understanding maybe the fight is not exactly what I thought it was. Maybe Delores isn't out here just to destroy humanity. Maybe there is something else, and at least those questions are going to continue him to sort of push through to find the deeper answers. Anyway, but still, sad to see Connell gone. Great final scene. And I love the sort of reverse shot that we had there with him talking to Serac, and Serac sort of seeing everything through his plane. And when he's like, yeah, it's me, blows the thing up, and we just get that sort of digital shot of that person kind of exploding and dying in front of it. It's a very cool effect shot, and really made the experience visceral, I think, for Serac in that sense. So some really good choices there. And of course, we got Tubbs back. Tubbs and Bernard, man, they're the buddy cop duo we need. So yeah, very excited about that. Sad to see Connell gone, but I mean, if you're gonna go, you know, give Bernard a distraction to get everyone out of the building. Fair enough. All right, just a couple of small things. One, we start to see a layered Rehoboam instead of the normal just circle, which we see a lot in the architecture all around Serac. He's got the connection on the watch there, I guess, showing whatever that activity is that we've seen kind of throughout the episode, the past episodes. Here, we're starting to see it in a layered effect as we're going into the multiple layers of Rehoboam and the information and the access and so of that. So I just sort of love the visual representation of that. Also, we got sort of an idea about the type of information, the amount of information. They were talking about yottabytes of info being downloaded into the AI. A yottabyte is 1 trillion terabytes. Terabytes being 1,000 gigabytes. You know, now we're starting to get terabytes in storage and stuff. Yeah, well, your old terabyte storage, yeah. 1 trillion, terabytes is a yottabyte. So, yeah, that's a lot of data. A lot of data. Tons of great music in this episode, as the show always does. Of course, you know, we get some great genre stuff for our black and white bit. We get Flight of the Valkyries for our big action sequence. We get some Iggy Pop for the club scene. Beautiful, haunting rendition of Major Tom as they're coming out of the subway and sort of seeing the effects of this information on the rest of the world. You know, really just sort of a perfect mood setter for that experience. Again, especially through Kale's eyes. And then at the end there, the soundtrack from The Shining. Just, a hard, haunting landing there. And of course, you know, signifying kind of the end of Liam's journey also. So just really great music choices, as they always do. All right, and our fan question this week. We're looking at you, Supernatural Awesomeness One. And yes, you are awesome. Who's basically inquiring, we were talking about Battlestar Galactica. Also, by the way, thank you, Acton. Lets us know that Battlestar Galactica can be found on Hulu right now. If you got Hulu, check it out. But yeah, fan question, Supernatural Awesomeness, asking us basically about Delores. Now that Delores is in multiple bodies, would she start to have different experiences? Is that going to change her experience? Much like it does in that show where Cylons do start to change. I'm not really spoiling too much here. And it's interesting that you asked that question, because that is exactly what we sort of see today, or at least Bernard's question to Connell is, you're having an individual experience. These individual experiences changes you. Would you be willing to do something different? So we are getting that sort of implied data that now that while it may be Delores originally, now that she is in different bodies, having different experiences through different lenses and different personalities, is that going to start to affect her core programming and thus her choices as well? Yes, totally think we're going to see it, because, yeah, you called it. It was implied right here with this episode, so that is something we can start to look forward to as well, is that Delores Hale is going to start acting different from Delores, who's going to be starting out, that there's going to be this separation, and that might give us some really interesting complications in further storylines as well. Alright, so I think that pretty much covers everything, so I think we'll just go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you, as always, for joining me with these reviews. Really do appreciate you sharing, liking, commenting, all of that fun stuff. Hit the thumbs up, hit the bell for notifications if you haven't, let you know whenever any new reviews are dropped. And as always, definitely leave some comments down in the section below. What'd you guys think about this episode? How did you love our little genre-bending journey? How awesome is Aaron Paul? We could answer these questions for hours, of course. But yeah, thoughts on the episode? Where do you think we're going? And we are ending sort of the back half now. Only 8 episodes in this season, 10 in previous seasons, so a little bit shorter. The last half, first 4 was sort of set up. Now our last 4 is sort of the action. We had everything, all the pieces played beforehand, and now this is the opening salvo, where we're just going to get this war and back and forth all the way up until the conclusion. So should be pretty non-stop going forward. What is it that you guys want to see? What do you expect to happen? Let me know your thoughts. Throw those down in the comment section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Quick and easy, one button press. Got several more episodes here. Plus, summer's almost here, and that is the return, final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. My favorite. Don't miss that if you're a subscriber. Do that by clicking this button right here. We'll go ahead and throw up our latest reviews right here for you to check out. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.